we're successful. Come watch our show, and they're the sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show. Give us the word, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show, and we're the sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Well, welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Monday, the 9th of June. You're with Steve Wyss and James Eastham. Welcome in to you all. James, the soccer off-season is right upon us now. We've got no World Cup. We've got no Euro Championships. We've got the Club World Cup. What have you been doing with yourself? Are you getting ready for next season already?
Well, it's great to see you, Steve. First thing I was going to say was it feels like so long ago since we did a show. It's only about 2 weeks. But you're right. Everything's changed. Obviously, the regular league season has come to an end. So I had a little bit of time off. I've been out in the countryside. And but then, you mentioned we don't have a big tournament, a big international country tournament this summer, which normally makes it an off-season, doesn't it? You think of the off-season, certainly from the European perspective, where there's no Euro or World Cup. But I think the Club World Cup changes everything, doesn't it? Because we're not going to be dealing with that on the show today, but we'll be dealing with it very, very soon, won't we? Because it's starting at the weekend and it's going to be going on for a month. So I've taken a little bit of time off, but we've got some World Cup qualifiers today, and then obviously a busier summer of football than we would normally have.
Yeah, we've got a big preview actually on Friday on Betting Weekly Live. I'm going to be joined by Lewis Jones and a new addition to the crew as well. We'll be previewing the Club World Cup. Loads of action this week on the channel. Betting Weekly Live all through Monday through to Friday. Betting Weekly Tennis Live Monday through to Wednesday. And we've, of course, got the hard ball and the fast break as well. They've been going great guns on that show with tons of winners. And, talking of the tennis yesterday, it was all about that really, James. Even I was watching... I was watching that final, Sinner against Alcaraz. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. Let us know if you were winning or losing on that final. I mean, it lasted nearly 6 hours.
Yeah, crazy, right? Crazy. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone on messaging them and not a massive tennis fan, and they stopped messaging. They said, I've just got to finish watching the tennis now. It was that sort of game, wasn't it? We were talking just now before we came on air about it being one of those matches that draws everybody in, even if you're not a huge tennis fan. So, remarkable stuff. And it just shows, right? There's a great tournament there. And obviously we've got more coming up with Wimbledon and everything else. So fantastic, not just with the football, which obviously I deal with, but plenty of other fantastic sport coming up over the summer.
Yeah, and welcoming everyone. Rick Haley, Ming Chung, Jamil, good to see you. Duncan Evans, Byron Murrell as well. Hit a sweet NBA wager last night, plus 575. So he's feeling good. Byron, well done about that. Daniel Lacani as well. Villa fan, good to see you. Dave Clark is liking Italy -2. We'll come to that much soon. Jamil said he lost. He had Sinner. I feel gutted for anyone who backed Sinner actually yesterday, considering his position in the game. But that is sport, isn't it? I'll tell you one massive bet over the weekend on the sportsbook, and it was $100,000 on the Thunder -11 against the Pacers, and that won, I think, by 16 points. So congratulations to that particular bettor. Their biggest soccer bet was Portugal against Spain, over 2.5 goals, straight over 2.5 goals, $30,000 at -141, another winner. And another big soccer winner was the Netherlands, over 1.5 goals against Finland for $25,000. Like you said, James, we're here to talk about World Cup qualifying. Simple as that, really. And we've got 5 games to go through today. Nothing else on the slate, so we can go into these games. Let's start with Croatia against the Czech Republic. Croatia plus 100, the tie plus 220, Czech Republic or Czechia plus 290. Now, one thing is kind of in my betting textbook, my betting rule book, James, is you just don't oppose Croatia when they're at home. Very strong side at home. I still think they're actually underrated. They are a bit older now than what they were. They're not the team that finished third place was it in one of the World Cups, in the Russian World Cup. They were third or fourth in that, but they're still very strong. And despite the Czech Republic having 100% record here, I do believe Croatia have described this as a must-win game. And I think even money on Croatia, for me, that's worth backing. For me, they're the better team. And if they're the team with home advantage, and home advantage can mean a lot more in international soccer, then even money looks a good price. Do you see anything in the Czech Republic which could cause them trouble?
Well, that's an interesting view, that Steve. I don't have a pick or a bet on this game. I sent you some stuff that I was thinking about this match before we went on air. I think it's absolutely fascinating. That's the first thing I would say, putting the selections to one side, because I do see a few things in the Czech Republic at the moment which suggests that they can at least be competitive here. So, starting with their record recently, I think they're 3 from 3 wins from 3. That is in their World Cup qualifiers. This is a team who historically, you think of the Czech Republic, and back in the late 90s and the early noughties, they were quite a force, weren't they? We'd see them at international tournaments quite a lot. That's not been the case, certainly with the World Cup, for a long time now. I think it's 20 years since they've been at a World Cup, but I am seeing some signs of improvement. I think under this manager, Ivan Hasek, some people may remember him at Strasbourg, depending on their age. He played for Strasbourg in the 1990s, did Ivan Hasek, clever midfielder, but he's come in as manager, and they've actually done pretty well. So if you look at their results since he took over, they're pretty good. I think they've won something like 10 out of 16 since he took over, and they've made a good start in qualifying. So yes, to answer your question, do I see anything in the Czech Republic? I do. I think they're playing quite well. One thing against that would be, it's one thing to look at their winning record recently, which is very good. Who have they beaten? That's always the question you need to look at. Well, they beat Macedonia last week, 2-0 at home. Good result. But other than that, some of their recent wins include victories against Gibraltar, who we're going to come on to, and against the Faroe Islands. So when you dig a little bit deeper and you look beyond the numbers and who have they actually beaten, this sort of test that they're going to face against Croatia, we've yet to really see them tested against this sort of opponent too often. So for me, I think it's a fascinating match. I'm really interested to see how Czech Republic do here against, as you say, Steve, good opponents. And I think it'll be a good game for that reason. I just saw, I missed the name there. Somebody said BTTS, yes. I quite like that in this game. Both teams to score, yes, I think is something worth looking at. The team news is pretty good on both sides as well. So in that sense, you're looking at fairly close to full strength teams. Fascinating game for me, but it's one where I'm really taking a watching brief and hoping to learn a little bit more about the two sides, but particularly about Czech Republic.
Yeah, I mean, you make some good points there. One thing I do like about the Czech Republic is their set-piece ability, both defending and attacking. There are some big boys here. Souček, for example, is a real menace. But I've got 3 main bets today. This is my third best bet of the 3 of them, and it is Croatia, simply to win the game on the money line at even money. I think that is worth a go. The particular poster who put both teams to score yes was none other than Dan Roebuck.
Oh, there we go.
Dan. Is that your pick of the day, Dan, or just one of your picks today? I didn't really look at the over-under market too much here. 59% of the money is on the over. 92% of the tickets are on Croatia. That doesn't really surprise me. I think we're looking at a home win here. Whether it's 1-0, I'm not sure. Whether it's 2-1, I'm happy to win that 2-1, Dan, if you cash as well. And Dan says you're off the Christmas card list, James. Is on it. James is on a different device today, so he's not able to see the comments as well as he could.
And I was going to say, and I'm not pulling your leg. I genuinely didn't see it. It was Dan Roebuck. That's not a Bet Rivers team loving. We're not colluding on our picks here, but I do fully on board with Dan's selection there. I think it's great.
Yes, and if James doesn't sound quite as clear as normal, we do slightly apologise. It's just different devices today, and we have to get stuff to work. As long as he's here, that's the most important thing. We're here for the bets. And James has got, this might be a bet of the day. I'm not sure, James. I really like this one as well. A massive game, Belgium against Wales. A lot of eyes on this. Really is a lot of eyes on this. A lot of interest, not just in over here in the UK, but also in mainstream Europe. Belgium as short as -230 to win the game against a Wales side who are unbeaten under Craig Bellamy. Nearly 6-1 Wales on the money line here. He said in a couple of interviews that they're going to have a go here. Wales are not going to be afraid. They're going to come here. They're not just going to park the bus. They're going to have a go. Whether they will or not, let's see. But I'm not sure I'd be backing Belgium here at -230, James, really, at all. I think Wales are much improved under Bellamy. I really do rate Bellamy quite a lot. I like how he comes across. I like his tactics. And you think they can certainly cause Belgium a bit of trouble here. There's one market that you really like in particular.
Yeah, I do. I tend to think that Belgium are too short there. I think, listen, we know they've got good players. Just to start with Belgium, their team news is pretty good. From what I can see, we don't have the starting 11, but Courtois is out, but they've got a good replacement, haven't they? Matt Sells, who we think will start in goal. Then if you look at the other big guns in the team, De Bruyne, Tielemans, Trossard, Doku, Lukaku, they're all available. And I don't really see any reason why Rudy Garcia, the manager, wouldn't pick them. So got to have plenty of respect for a side that can line up with that sort of quality in it. But I tend to agree with you, Steve. I think at the price that they're available at, I wouldn't really be interested in backing Belgium here because they've not made the most exceptional start, have they, in their World Cup qualifying campaign? I think they're 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. So 1-1 draw away to North Macedonia last week, which is okay. But there's nothing really that particularly scary, I don't think, about Belgium at the moment. I personally have a few reservations about Rudy Garcia at this stage of his career as a manager as well. Whether he's the right fit for Belgium, I don't know. He's obviously been an excellent manager down the years, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's a good time to be playing them, and I think it's a very good time to be Wales, right? You said it, Steve. They're unbeaten. I think, is it 5 wins and 4 draws in 9 games under Bellamy? Like Belgium last week, if you're trying to find a way to compare these two sides, they also drew 1-1 away to North Macedonia, did Wales, a little bit earlier in the year. So in that sense, you could argue there's maybe not a huge amount this year between Belgium and Wales quality-wise in terms of how they're playing. Obviously, we know Belgium have got the better individual players, you would say, but I think it's a good time to have a go at them. And I'm like you, Steve. I've seen those interviews with Bellamy where he said he's going to send his team out to have a go. He's paraphrasing what he said, but that's the only way he really wants his team to play or will ask them to play. So I think we're going to be in for an open game here. I had a look at Wales on the Asian handicap to see if they could limit Belgium to a narrow victory or maybe even get a point. That might be a way to look at it if, like us, you think Belgium are a little bit too short to win it. But in the end, I went on both teams to score yes. I think taking into account what Bellamy has said, and I don't think he's bluffing. I do think he will send out his team to have a go, given that they're going to be confident, I think, because they're in great form themselves and they'll think that this Belgium team can be got at. And another factor, I still believe that Belgium's better players are up front and that they're potentially a little bit weaker at the back. So my pick on the game is both teams to score yes. I think -114, which is what it's available at, is a pretty good price because I think right now Wales, we're fairly confident how they're going to play. We think they will have a go here. Some teams wouldn't do that against Belgium. I think Wales will. And I think they've got a real chance. Chances of them keeping a clean sheet away to Belgium are obviously very slim. So I think both teams to score yes, -114. You'll get a good run for your money because I think the way the game will be played should see plenty of chances for both teams in this match.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You make some really good points there. Just some team news here for Belgium. Onana and Tielemans likely to come into the side. De Bruyne probably will start, we think. Wout Faes is going to start in defence. That always concerns me.
Yeah, you're not a fan, are you? Yeah.
Not now. I used to be quite a big fan of him, but I think he's really struggled since he's had his move over to the UK, and I think his confidence levels are not where they perhaps want to be. It's a shame for Faes, but I think there's always a mistake in him. That's my big problem there. And I look at this Wales team, and I look at he has a really good mix of. There's a lot of pace in this team in certain areas. You can get the likes of Dan James, Brennan Johnson is going to start here. He's a really good player. Harry Wilson's great technically, and Bellamy. I actually think it's an underrated squad as well. Really, Wales now. I do agree. I mean, someone's put there that Belgium have more quality. They do, on paper. If we're going by market value, of course that's the case. But it's not always as simple as that. I totally agree with you. I like the both teams to score yes here at -117. Wales to score a goal is at -152. I think that's a generous price. I also did look at that +1 Asian handicap at +102. But if we're being honest with ourselves, probably the most likely score would be 2-1 to Belgium or 3-1 to Belgium.
Yeah. And my concern as well, Steve, I completely agree with that. My concern was that if Belgium do go ahead, there's always a chance that they'll get us, they'll win by 2 goals because Wales will, have to have a go then. And I was, the more I looked at that option, I just thought Belgium on the counter attack, if they're already a goal up, is quite a scary prospect against any defence, really, but against the Wales defence. So I agree with you. In the end, that swayed me towards the both teams to score yes, because I kind of feel that's more likely to get you a profit than Wales, the Asian handicap. Wales +1 Asian handicap, I think you might get your stakes back, but I think your chances of actually making a profit are bigger by backing both teams to score yes.
Just before we move on, tell us a little bit more about Rudy Garcia, the manager now for Belgium. I never really saw him as an international boss, I've got to be honest. But here he is, 3 games in, 4-3-3. It looks like he's going to be operating in. He did used to use that a lot at club level. I mean, do you think he's the sort of guy for Belgium?
Well, I think the first thing to say is I think he's at the right stage of his career for it, in the sense that he's probably done as much as he feels he will ever do at club level. He's had some big clubs, Lille, Marseille, Roma, went to Roma, obviously, Lyon, should I say. So I think he's done his bit. He won't be getting those type of job offers anymore. Second thing I would say about Garcia, I don't think he'll have a problem handling big name personalities. I think he's quite comfortable in that arena. I think he'd back himself to be able to talk to top class internationals and manage them rather than being overawed by them. So I don't think there's any issues in that sense. For me, it's just whether he's really had much high level, management experience recently, whether he's the right fit for Belgium right now. Should it have come maybe 2 or 3 years ago? Maybe. But I think he's got the right sort of pedigree in terms of experience. If, you're looking for an international manager to go in there having proven himself in the club game, I just wonder if it's come a little bit too late, and maybe some of the players would have preferred to be working with him when he was a little bit earlier in his career. That's my only concern about him.
He's certainly been around the block. Former Dijon manager, Le Mans, Lille, Roma, Marseille, Lyon, Al Nassr, Napoli, of course, and now Belgium. All the way up likes Belgium to 0. He doesn't trust Wales. I think it's a different Wales. Back in the day, Wales would just come here and park the bus. They really would. But I think this is a different operation now under Bellamy. This is the best looking Wales team technically you'll ever see. Absolutely no doubt about it. SW says Croatia, double chance and over 1.5 goals that's about -220. I looked at the same game parlay. I'm not sure about that. I'd just rather take them straight on the nose myself at evens. And then you do have that 1-0 in your pocket. But although I do admit that is likely going to be a winning bet, SW. And he's also asking about the Belgian corner market. Possibly, but Wales do have more possession than they used to have. So but judging on sheer possession and stuff, I don't really know the style of Garcia at Belgium yet. So that might be an in-running play, SW, for the Belgian corner market, especially if they trail in the game or it stays level at half time. The money is on Belgium though. The bettors are not losing faith with them. 98% of that money and 87% of the tickets on Belgium. And the over-under market, the overs are liked here, James. 86% of those tickets. Yeah,
and I get that, and I think you made a good point there, Steve, in just asking the question about the style of Belgium under Garcia. If we go back to watching him in France, I never really felt there was a Rudy Garcia style of play. Quite a pragmatic manager. His teams were generally quite entertaining, but you can argue that's just a consequence of the players he had available when he was at Lille and Marseille and Lyon. I mean, I remember the Lille team he put together very well was obviously a great team that did really well in 2010-11 season, winning the double where he had got the best out of some really quality talented players in that team. You think of Eden Hazard, but also Gervinho, people like that at the time, and Johan Cabay. So he's very happy to embrace talented players. Is Rudy Garcia. In that sense, he could be a good fit for Belgium. But like you, I'd want to see a little bit more of them and see what style he's got them playing in before being super confident about seeing him as the right fit for the national team there.
Dan Roebuck's got some interesting points about the corners there. That Belgium won their last two corner matchups 10-1, which is that's obviously quite a huge margin. And I think we would both expect them to win the corner battle today, but you never know with game state. And producer Troy says he doesn't hate Wales double chance at plus 175. I mean, I do agree. I think there's worse bets out there. I wouldn't back Belgium myself at minus 220. They may well win, but just seems a bit too short against an improved Wales outfit. Let's move to what I think this is the toughest game of the day, actually. Find a bet in now. This is Italy against Moldova. Italy just don't do World Cups, do they, anymore?
Well, this is it. Yeah.
When was the last time they were at a World Cup? Was it 2010? I'm not sure, James. But anyway, in terms of the odds, they're against Moldova today, minus 2,500 to win. The ties at 11-1 there. Moldova is big as 35-1 with Bet Rivers. And the craziest thing is the manager situation. I'm not really sure I've ever known this, where the Italy manager Spalletti has been sacked, but he will be on the bench taking charge of the team, which is a strange situation. I'm a bit surprised he's not just walked and said, all right, get someone else in. Maybe he's doing it for national pride, doing his duty as such. But this is a mess because they lost 3-0 against Norway badly at the weekend. And to be honest, that result on itself might condemn them to the playoffs in qualification.
Well, it might do. And I think the fact you've got a manager here who has been sacked, let's say, we know he's leaving. I think more detail will probably come out after this game. But the fact we have a manager in that position who's actually going to be on the bench for this game is quite damning of the Italian FA setup at the moment generally, isn't it? I mean, it's like you said, Steve, it's almost unheard of. And it's slightly embarrassing situation, I think, for such a fantastic football nation. So it's an odd situation. And I think it does make trying to make a selection on this game just a little bit more difficult. It's very hard to know what the frame of mind of the manager will be, given that he knows he's on his way out. Obviously, there will be a certain amount of professional pride in wanting to go out, but he may wonder why he finds himself in this position. So it's a very strange one. And Italy are obviously very, very short to win the game, which, listen, I didn't watch the game the other day, Steve, but I wouldn't want to be back in Italy at short odds after the heavy defeat they had against Norway. And also with the manager situation as it is. So like you, I found this game very difficult. One thing, we should say there's two teams taking part in it, and Moldova aren't very good. I mean, we should underline that. They don't look very good on any metric, do they? I mean, if you look at I think they're winless in World Cup qualifiers for over 10 years. I think they've lost 19 of their last 22 World Cup qualifiers. And they got beaten 5-0 by Norway when they played Norway. So we know who the better of the two sides is. It's Italy. And I think even taking into account the craziness of the situation with the manager and the fact they're in poor form, given who they're playing, you'd still fully expect Italy to win the game. And I do expect them to win the game. It's just to do with the prices. They're very short, aren't they? So I looked at this, and in the end, I think it's probably best for all sorts of reasons to leave this game alone. One being the manager's situation, and the second being just how short Italy are. I think some people in these situations can be drawn into maybe thinking, well, it's a great time to get on the opposition. Would be my view. I don't think it's one of those situations, because I think Moldova, listen, they're still not good enough, I don't think, to get anything even against an Italy side with a little bit of turmoil going on. But fascinating situation, crazy situation in some ways. But for me, I think a bit like you, Steve, it was one where I couldn't really see a bet here.
They're actually as big as 40-1 now with Bet Rivers and Moldova. And do you know what? I think there'll be a few takers, just simply based on the result there that Italy just had with the manager situation. And I almost wouldn't blame some people for doing that, because Italy just feel very unbackable right now. Producer Troy I have done the Italians a bit of a disservice there. They were in the 2018 and 2014 World Cup. I do remember that the 2014 World Cup, actually, they beat England, didn't they? But I genuinely cannot remember Italy being in the 2018 World Cup. I just can't remember who they even played in that tournament. It was in Russia. If you can remember a game that they had in that tournament, then do let me know.
Were they?
Apparently they were in it, so I just can't remember.
They all. I mean, listen. I used to know every World Cup really well. They kind of blend, but it's kind of weird how Italy, have almost become Euro specialists, isn't it? They obviously won the Euros at Wembley in 2021, and it's not that long ago. But then, if you look a little bit deeper, a lot of people who follow Italian football very closely would argue that they haven't been producing the players. When they look at some of the young players coming through in Spain and Portugal and France, they feel that they're nowhere near that level in terms of producing their own players. And in the end, that sort of thing catches up with you, doesn't it? So, I mean, if you look at the Italy team that's likely to line up tonight, it's pretty close to full strength. I mean, the options are there. Calafiori's out at centre-back, obviously, but if you look through the rest of the squad, everybody else is there. And to me, it doesn't look that strong. That's their potential starting 11 for this game if they were to play their strongest 11. If you compare it to the Spain team and the Portugal team that we saw the other night in the Nations League final, the Italy team doesn't look that strong. So, in a funny way, that win over England at Wembley on penalties in the Euro final in 2021 is a bit of an anomaly, really, because I think what we're seeing now and what we've seen in recent World Cup qualifiers is more indicative of where the standard of the Italian national team is, which is below the level of some of the top teams, I think.
Yeah, I misread that, actually. They weren't in the 2018 World Cup. So, yes, 2014, that was the last time they were at a World Cup. And I'll tell you what, I'm not sure I'll be putting money on them being at the World Cup next year based on that start. I just looked at the league table. The problem is goal difference is the main sorting rule. And if they have any chance of winning this group, they've got to put some pressure on Norway. They could do with winning this match big, really, to be honest with you. But then I look at the Italy team and I don't know where the goals are coming from. I like the defense. I like the goalkeeper. And there's midfielders of quality. But in terms of genuine attacking weapons, the whole country's lacking them right now. Yeah. Retegui's minus 150 to score any time. He's the shortest price. I mean, he can get you a goal, but you wouldn't hang your hat on him. This is the problem, isn't it? The lack of goals in the team.
This is it. And I saw a piece the other day talking about France. Now, we know France, by the way, struggled for goals at the Euros last summer, didn't they? So, they're by far... they had their own problems recently, but when you look at some of the young players coming through, the attacking players coming through, you just don't see it with Italy at the moment. And I think, if you look through the names there, honestly, there'll be a lot of people out there who don't follow European football super closely. They won't be that familiar with the names, because Italy just aren't producing the top class attacking players that big clubs want to go out and try and sign, are they? So it is a problem, and you're right, Steve. In terms of goal difference, that 3-0 defeat they had the other day to Norway, it puts them in trouble in more ways than one, because it's underlined the quality deficit they've got at the moment, and it's also put them under pressure in terms of points and goal difference. So, in a way, this is a really important game for Italy, I think, just to show they can hold on in this group, right? I mean, they want to win it, and they should win it, but they should really go out and try and win it big, I think, to suggest almost psychologically that they've still got a role to play, because at the moment things are looking very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, if they get 2 or 3 goals up, they might as well not call off the dogs and get as many as they can. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes on there. Moldova, like you said, they're not a very good team. They just got beat by Poland 2-0 in a friendly, which is not too bad. But in a competitive game in this group, they lost at home to Estonia. Now, if you are losing at home to Estonia, and they were minus money favourites that day, by the way, then I think you've got a serious problem. So that is the issue. If it's a shame in a way Italy are not playing someone half decent, and I would definitely be opposing them here. But I've not got a bet for the game. You've not either. Good luck whatever you're taking on it. Someone put the -2 earlier, I think, on Italy. That they should cover it really. They're much better, but I wouldn't trust them. 2 more games to look at today. We've mentioned Norway, who are really in pole position in this group now. All they have to do really is just win all the remaining games and don't get beat heavily in Italy, I would say. But they will come here to Estonia, and they are going to win big again, I think, James. I really do. I would personally be surprised if we don't get a big Norwegian win. I like the goals here, over 3.25 goals. I think is really worth looking at. Because one thing I'll say for Estonia is that they do have a go. They've scored in all their games so far. And the one weakness of the Norwegian team is the defense and the goalkeeper. Italy didn't exploit that. They had one shot on target against them. But, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but Estonia will probably trouble Norway more than what Italy did.
Isn't that incredible? Yeah.
I know. Yeah, because Estonia will just have a go. They'll swing, and they will get a chance here and there. It wouldn't shock me if they scored. But Norway are very, very capable of scoring 4 goals on their own at least. And another bet I like in this game, James, is over 1.5 first-half goals at plus 105. Because Norway have come out the traps very quickly in all their games. So far, getting the job done early. And, I think they'll have this match won by half-time myself.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't have a pick or a lean on the game. I looked through the prices, and I was slightly tempted by Norway to win big, but in the end I thought, well, they just had that big win. Can they do it straight away again in the next game? They probably can, actually, because they're in great form. I mean, it's been the perfect start, hasn't it, in their World Cup qualifiers? I think, the win against Italy is more than just a regular World Cup win as well. It's a real marker about the quality in the side. Norway are going for their first World Cup, I think, since 1998. I mean, it's extraordinary, really. They're obviously not a huge national team with an enormous international pedigree, but that's quite a long time given some of the players they produced during that sort of time arc. So they're looking good. They've been good away from home. They've been good at home. They've got good team news for this game. They can mix it up a little bit as well if they want, because, it's a slightly easier game on paper than the Italy game, although let's wait and see how it goes. And you're right. And on Estonia, Steve, you've mentioned they'll probably have a go here, which I think they will. In terms of quality, although that price on Norway away from home might look quite short to a lot of people, there's nothing really to say that Estonia can challenge them here in terms of the match result. I mean, if you look at their form at home, their internationals, over the last sort of 10 games at home, I think they've lost 7 of them. They've only won 2 at home, and those wins at home were against Azerbaijan and the Faroe Islands. That's the sort of level Estonia are at. They can beat the absolute outsiders in Europe, but against the rest, they're not even drawing the games very often. They're usually losing them. And I think there's a big quality deficit here, which we should see. So it would be a massive surprise if Norway didn't win. I think really the question is more the one you're asking: how many can they win by? And so if you look at the prices and you think Norway are short at first glance, I don't think they are. I think it's probably about right. And it's a case of, can they go out and repeat the sort of victory they've just had against Italy?
Yeah, I think they win big here. Over 3.25 goals for me. A goal scorer I really like is Alexander Sherloff. Even money to score anytime. He netted against Italy. Haaland's minus 190. He should score as well. But Sherloff, I think, is just as much of a physical mismatch for this Estonian side. It's not a fair fight. Against these Norwegian attackers, it's just nowhere near a fair fight. And I say the weakness of Norway is defense, is goalkeeper. Maybe Estonia can take advantage of that, but they could be in for quite a bit of a pummeling here. That's personally the way I see the game. There has been some significant money on Norway. Some of the biggest bets today so far. 4 figures on Norway, minus 2.5 on the Asian handicap. Haaland's the biggest prop player of the day. To score or assist at minus 250, 4 figures on that as well. And someone was asking, do you think the Norway handicap and goal ladder? Possibly Ming here. Maybe this is one. They've got a really healthy goal difference already, but they can put the goal difference to bed here with a 4-5-0 win and knock Italy out of the water completely on that regard. Remember that in these World Cup qualifying, that goal difference is the number one sorting rule rather than head-to-head. So there's more chance of teams racking up the score, apart from England, of course, who just want to be lazy and win 1-0. But Norway are in a different phase. They haven't qualified for a major tournament for, I can't remember how long ago, James. 2000, maybe? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and if you think of the World Cup being over 25 years ago now since Norway were in it, and that was a good Norway team, 98 in France, where they were quite entertaining, I felt, anyway, thinking about, but they produced that many good players during that period of time, not maybe a lot of world-class players, but given that the number of teams qualifying for World Cups has got bigger and bigger, it's well overdue, in my opinion. And obviously, when you've got a talismanic figure in an attack like Haaland, I personally think a lot of neutrals would love Norway to be getting to a World Cup just so we can see someone like that on a big stage. It's terrible when you have a standout player for one of the smaller countries, let's say, and they consistently miss out on big tournaments. So I think it'd be great if they got there. And at the moment, it looks like they're going to get there.
Yeah, really hope they get there. Dave Clark, I like that bet as well. Norway winning over 2.5. And I think Italy to win to 0 is minus 225. I did look at that actually for the Italy game. But ultimately, I'm not really interested at those sort of odds. But if that's your sort of thing, then absolutely go with it. 91% of the tickets on the money line are on Norway. I would love to know what the other 9% are thinking. I really would. I really would. That's quite high. I thought it'd be like 98%, 99%. But anyway, there's one more game left. You've got a bet in it. Don't ignore this game, everyone, because I've got an interesting player prop for this game as well. This is the Faroe Islands against Gibraltar. I'm a bit surprised that these two are in the same group, actually, James.
Yeah.
Normally, these would be, separate groups, and this is a winnable game for both. I think Faroe Islands are the clear favourites at minus 385 now on the Faroe Islands. There's been a move for the Faroes, James. Not often we would say that on a live show. But the Gibraltar now as big as 13-1. I still think it's a winnable game for both, even if Gibraltar's odds suggest it otherwise. How do you see this one going?
Well, I actually, listen, I've said on this show in the past, I've got no interest in internationals involving the absolute outsiders, and both of these teams fall into that category. But I'm actually going to change my view on that, because I think it's quite an interesting game when they go head to head like this. At first glance, I thought the Faroes were a bit too short at you said minus 385 now. I've revised my view on it a little bit. I think maybe they're still a little bit short, but I can understand them being minus money favourites. First thing to say is it's an awfully long trip up there for Gibraltar. Obviously, the Faroes will be more used to the conditions and the stadium. It's obviously an artificial pitch that the game's being played on. So they do have home advantage, and it is, in my view, a real advantage between these two sides. Arguably a little bit too short, maybe, at what they are, but if I can understand it. But for me, the best angle on the game is the goals, actually, Steve. The more I looked at the price on both teams to score yes, which was plus 138, the more I thought that was quite an interesting price. And the reason I think it's an interesting price is it's obviously plus money. And on the BTTS market, plus 138 is quite a big price, really. Often you get both of them around 100 or just, both minus money just. Plus 138 makes it a big outsider of 2 in this market. And I just felt that the Faroes would probably expect to score at home. I'd be surprised if they didn't, given they've got home advantage and those factors in their favour. But looking a little bit more deeply at Gibraltar, they have actually scored in 6 of their last 10 international games. And when they play against the weaker nations, which is obviously what they're doing today, they've actually got a pretty decent record recently of scoring goals. So don't worry too much about whether they won those matches or not. But they did score twice against San Marino. And by twice, I mean in 2 different games against San Marino. And they've also scored recently against Liechtenstein and against Andorra. So I think put yourselves in the head of the Gibraltar players. If they're going up there, they've got absolutely no track record of winning World Cup qualifiers or anything like that. But will they think they can score? I think they probably will, because they've scored plenty of games recently when they faced weaker sides. So I don't know about them getting a draw or winning the game. I think a win would be a huge surprise. But I think both teams to score yes at plus 138. Given that the Faroes, in my view, are likely to score, it's really more based on whether Gibraltar can score. I think their recent record shows that they can. So it's only a lean from me. It's not an official pick. But I think both teams to score yes at plus 138, based on that Gibraltar goals record, is slightly too big, in my opinion.
Well, believe it or not, James, I've actually watched the full 90 minutes of both of Gibraltar's.
Wow.
Two of Gibraltar's last 3 qualifying. I didn't see them lose 7-0 against Croatia, I admit, but I watched the game at Montenegro where they lost 3-1.
Yes.
And when they lost 4-0 against the Czech Republic. And they have been definitely more offensive than they were. That Montenegro game, especially, they were well worth their goal. I've been betting on Gibraltar games, often on handicaps against them. Corners against them is often a big thing as well. Look at that here. And the thing I really worry for Gibraltar here is the physical side. Faroe Islands have a lot of big boys in the team, physical. You've got to be tough up there. And as you said, it's up close to the Arctic Circle. It's only going to be 8 degrees Celsius. And it's interesting, the Faroes lost 2-1 to the Czech Republic, and the goal they scored in that game was from a corner. And, I mean, to score a goal against the Czech Republic from a corner takes some doing, I tell you. And the lad who scored it was Gunnar Valtama, right? And he is plus 850 to score at any time in this game, a centre-back. He actually got taken off at half-time in a friendly match at the weekend, so I hope he's not injured. But I tell you what, check the lineup here, and I might back blind the 3. They usually play 3 at the back, Faroes, all 3 centre-backs to score any time against this Gibraltar team, because I just see it as a match where that from a set piece that they will score, because Gibraltar are not going to be able to match their physical prowess, so to speak. And Faroe Islands corners could be worth backing in this game as well. I do think they'll win. I think it'll be an open game. They'll both have a good go here. Both teams to score does look big. I agree with you, Jay.
And well, that's the thing. You said I expect both teams to have a go. If you're Gibraltar, when are you going to have a go in an away game, if not this one? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a team who are a bit stronger than you, but a team that you can get at and try and score against. It's not like playing Croatia. So I think there's every chance we'll see them, like you say, have a go here and try and get a goal.
This may never be said again on Betting Weekly Live, but I can tell you 91% of the money is on the Faroe Islands. Not often that would be the case, but they are well backed here. They should win the game. I could see this being like 3-1 to the Faroe Islands myself. Someone's asked me about the Scotland friendly. I've no idea why Scotland are playing Liechtenstein in a friendly way. This seems a pointless fixture to me. Liechtenstein are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They're one of the worst teams in Europe. They got beat twice by San Marino. That's how bad Liechtenstein are. If Scotland can't win this game, then they've got serious problems. The main handicap, I looked, it's -3 on Scotland. But if I was to bet on the game, it would be the first half Asian handicap on Scotland, -1.25. Surely, at very least, Scotland can be leading at half time in the game. But as I say, Liechtenstein, absolutely terrible, terrible side. And Scotland should be winning that one. What would be your best bet today, then, James, out of the ones that you've given us?
Yeah, my best bet would be the Belgium versus Wales pick, which was both teams to score yes, -114. I said it earlier, but I think you've got a great chance of getting a run for your money there in terms of how the game will play out. And I think -114 on both teams to score yes is a big price.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, for me, that's my second best bet of the day. My best bet would be that Norway over 3.25 goals. Estonia against Norway. Norway capable of covering themselves. Noble House special today. Either team to score at least 5 goals in Oilers against Panthers game 3. That is at +128. You can watch live streams. WTA Valencia, and if the Israeli Super League is your sort of thing, Hapoel Jerusalem against Maccabi Tel Aviv is on as well. Just some notable long odds winners over the weekend. We like to mention these when they come in. Ryan Fox won the Canadian Open Golf, 66-1 winner there. Joe Adele to hit at least 2 home runs in Angels against Mariners. That was 60-1. And there was a few more big price baseball winners as well. Aaron Judge to hit at least 2 home runs in Yankees versus Red Sox, 30-1 winner. But yeah, that will do for today's show. Enjoyed it as always, James. Thank you very much for your company.
Cheers, Steve. It's been great.
Breaking down the games. Got Lewis Jones on with me tomorrow, where we've got even more World Cup qualifiers to discuss, South America as well. And I'm sure Lewis will touch on the England friendly. Remember to gamble responsibly, everyone. Take care. Thank you, everyone who joined in. And we'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live.